because of several requests. Here are combined the top 4 Royal Enfield Cafe Racer design ideas so far. All bikes with an estimated cost for building them between 3 to 4K. The ranking is based on current view counts on the channel. The videos include the step-by-step animated modifications and builds for each individual bike and design. In number 4 is a Royal Enfield Classic 350, with 2 design ideas for the Royal Enfield entry model. 1, to convert it into a cruiser, and second, to also convert it into a bobber. Let's check out the step-by-step modification and design ideas.
So, let's start with the base bike, a spec 2022 Royal Enfield Classic 350 in matte black. We start in removing the original rear fender, rear turn signals, the license plate holder and the tail light. We will keep the original rear fender brackets in place for the first phase of the custom cruiser modifications. In the next step, we remove the original mirrors, which we will replace later with new handlebar clip-on mirrors. We also remove the front turn signals and the side reflectors on the lower fork. In the next step we remove the front fender and fender brackets. Now we remove the original seat and the seat brackets. The seat we will replace later with a lower cruiser-style custom seat. In the next step we replace the original tires with Firestone Deluxe Champion Cycle Classic motorcycle tires. Now we remove the frame rear holding grips and install a lower custom vintage bronze seat. In the next step, we replace the original clutch and alternator covers with metal polished versions on both sides. The fuel tank gets some design updates, with a new tank badge design, and gas tank knee pads. We also update the design on the side covers, left and right. Now we add and install integrated handlebar front turn signals. The little front headlight cover gets painted black to match the rest of the bike. We also black paint the lower part of the front fork. The original handlebar grips will be replaced with vintage bronze ones to match the bronze seat cushion. And as mentioned earlier, we now install drop-down, black clip-on mirrors. Now we reinstall the original rear fender, but we lower it by about 1.5 to 2 inches to match the lower seat. The original taillight gets replaced with a new cruiser-style one. The one in the animation is from a 2014 Indian Scout 998 cruiser. We also install new bullet-style aftermarket rear turn signals. Now we reinstall the original front fender and fender brackets. The next step will require some metal work, as we are shortening the original exhaust and install a new oval exhaust end ring. The front of the exhaust system gets wrapped with black Thermo-Tech exhaust wrap tape. We now install inside the original rear fender, extended custom-made fender covers. Same as in the rear, we also install inside the original front fender, extended custom-made fender covers on the front. Those covers are a little bit trickier to manufacture and install, because they also will cover parts of the front brake disc and brake caliper. As an alternative to the OEM wheels, we install custom-made full-covered disc wheels. If you do not want to replace the entire wheels, there are also options to use disc covers over the original OEM spoked wheels. Now we switch the color to the OEM chrome bronze color option. And to match the color better, we switch the shortened original exhaust to the chrome version 1. Now let's take a look how the cruiser would look in chrome red. And in the final step for now, we remove the covered disc wheels again, to see how the bike would look like with the original spoked wheels. In this second video about design ideas on how to customize a Royal Enfield Classic 350, we use the same 2022 spec Classic as the base bike, but this time we want to modify the bike into a custom bobber. We start again with the base bike, a spec 2022 Royal Enfield Classic 350. Again, we remove the original rear fender, rear turn signals, the license plate holder and the tail light. But this time we also remove the original rear fender brackets. Same as before, in the next step, we remove the original mirrors, which we will replace later with new handlebar clip-on mirrors. We also remove again the front turn signals and the side reflectors on the lower fork. Now it's time to remove the front fender and fender brackets, as well as the original seat and the seat brackets. The original tires are getting replaced again with Firestone Deluxe Champion Cycle Classic motorcycle tires. Next, we need to remove the upper frame rear holding grips. Now it's time to install the bobber-style vintage Braun lower seat. In the next step, we replace the original clutch and alternator covers with metal polished versions on both sides. The fuel tank gets some design update with a new tank badge design and gas tank knee pads. We also update the design on the side covers, left and right. Now we add and install integrated handlebar front turn signals. The little front headlight cover gets painted black. We also black paint the lower part of the front fork. The original handlebar grips will be replaced with vintage Braun ones to match the Braun seat cushion. And as mentioned earlier, we install drop-down black clip-on mirrors. Instead of the original rear fender, we install a shorter aftermarket one. There are several bolt-on kit options available, which do not require any modification and fit the original frame. The original taillight gets replaced with a new teardrop taillight. And we also install new bullet-style aftermarket rear turn signals. Now the original front fender gets replaced with a shorter aftermarket one. Same as on the rear, there are a lot of bolt-on kit options available. The next step, same as before, will require some metal work as we are shortening the original exhaust and install a new oval exhaust end ring. And the front of the exhaust system, we wrap again with black Thermo-Tech exhaust wrap tape. Time to see how the bike would look like in a different color. For that we switch first to the OEM chrome bronze color option. And let's also check out how it would look in the available chrome red. To match the red color better, we switch the shortened original exhaust to a slightly longer chrome version 1. And finally, for now, we switch the black OEM wheels to the OEM chrome versions.
In number 3 is one of my personal favors, converting a Royal Enfield Continental GT 650 into a Speedster, with a custom-made full fairing. Let's check it out.
So, let's start with the base bike again, a spec Royal Enfield Continental GT 650. As before, we will remove the original rear fender, rear turn signal, the license plate holder and the tail light. In the next step, which will require some metal cutting and welding, we are shortening the rear frame. We also remove the front turn signals. In the next step we remove the front fender. Next, we will remove the original chrome muffler and also shorten the original end of the exhaust pipe. We also now remove the original seat. We continue with removing the headlight. After that we continue and remove the instrument dash, the front headlight brackets and the entire handlebars and grips. Now we need to do some welding to complete the shorter rear frame section. After removing main components of the original bike, it's time to actually start the rebuild. Similar like the previous build, the original tires are replaced with Firestone Deluxe Champion Cycle Classic motorcycle tires, which also provide a bigger profile. In addition, we also add white Firestone lettering to the tires. The original chrome mufflers are getting replaced with a dark gray XL iron head black muffler from K-Speed, which we add to the shorter exhaust pipe. In the next step, we update the side cover with a longer version and also change the design. Next, we replace the original seat with a custom bolt-on kit seat from Thrive Customs of Indonesia. The new seat also includes a new integrated tail and brake light and a vintage bronze seat cushion. The original white tank gets switched to an OEM chrome colored one, and we also add a new metal Royal Enfield tank badge. Now we install new lower clip-on handlebars and we also reinstall all the controls and levers. Next, we add integrated handlebar front turn signals. And we also replace the handlebar grips with vintage Braun ones to match the bronze seat cushion. Optional, we black powder coat the air intake and throttle body, the engine valve cover, and the upper cylinders. For the next step, in preparation for adding the full body fairing, we have to add new custom-made, mid-centered brackets, which also will hold the headlight in the lower position and the instrument dash. Now we reinstall the headlight onto the new bracket, as well as reinstall the OEM instrument dash. Before fitting the new fairing, we need to install on each side, custom-made side brackets to hold the fairing. Time to install the custom-made vintage fairing from AirTech Streamlining. Next, we add some Royal Enfield design elements to the fairing and the new seat. As an alternative to the OEM rear wheel, we install a custom-made full-covered aluminum disc rear wheel. In the final step for now, we add some additional design elements to the rear covered disc wheel. As an alternative to the bike with the full body fairing, here are also some alternative design ideas of the bike, including some versions without the fairing at all. On a side note, to make this bike street legal in most areas, a front and rear fender, as well as mirrors, need to be added.
In number 2 is a Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, converted into a Scrambler. No idea why Royal Enfield does not sell a bike like this themselves, since it would be a great alternative to other way more expensive bikes in the market. Let's take a look at the step-by-step build and design ideas.
The majority of the modifications for the build are cosmetic, with the engine, electronics, suspension and brakes remain all OEM spec. Let's get started with the first modification. We will remove the original rear fender, rear turn signal, the license plate holder, and the tail light. Next, we remove the original mirrors as well as the original front fender. Most current Royal Enfield Interceptor color combinations already come with black wheels. If not, we will paint the wheels matte black. The original tires are replaced with Bridgestone Batlax Adventure Cross AX41 tires, which also provide a bigger profile. To accomplish the blacked out theme look, we will black paint the headlight, the bracket and the upper fork, the front turn signals, the brake and clutch lever, the end of the handlebars, the foot brake lever and gear lever, the air intake and throttle body, the engine valve cover and cylinders, the footrest and footrest covers, and the top of the rear spring. Next, we install a new, Enduro-style, high-mounted and shorter, black front fender. Now we add a pair of new black, lower clip-on mirrors to the handlebars. In the next step we black paint the upper part of the original rear fender and reinstall it. The original taillight gets replaced with a new vintage LED tail and brake light, and we also reinstall the original rear turn signals, which also getting painted in black. To match the blacked out look, we replace the bike's original clutch and alternator covers with matte black ribbed covers from K-Speed on both sides. Next, we switch the original color of the tank to black to match the blacked out theme of the rest of the bike. We are also adding new, metal 3D Royal Enfield tank badges. Most of the 2022 models already have fork gaiters installed. If not, we add them to the build of the bike. Next, we update the design of the side covers, and the front white headlight glass gets replaced with a yellow one. This can also be done using a yellow headlight film. The original handlebar grips are getting replaced with vintage brawn ones, and we also modified the original seat cushion and switched the black color to brawn to match the new handlebar grips. In the next step we wrap the front of the original exhaust system with black Thermotech exhaust wrap tape to give the bike a more vintage look. In the final step of the first phase of the modifications, we replaced the original chrome mufflers with black Excel iron head mufflers from K-Speed. So far, all modifications did not require any cutting, welding or metal work and can be done without modifying the original frame. As an alternative, here are some additional updated modifications, including a shorter rear frame and seat. For that, we remove again the seat, the taillight and rear turn signals, as well as the rear fender. In the next step, we are shortening the rear frame. This step requires some metal cutting and welding to fit the new shorter tail section. If welding is not an option, this also can be done using a bolted-in frame kit. Now we need to modify the original seat and seat cushion and shorten the front of the seat to fit it to the shorter new rear frame section. In the next step, we replace the original rear fender we used before with a new Enduro-style, high-mounted and shorter, black-painted rear fender. After that, we reinstall the rear taillight and the rear turn signals. As an alternative, instead of the original modified lower exhaust system in combination with the XL iron head mufflers from K-Speed, we install a black-painted ZRD high-level exhaust system. Finally, we install a black-painted skid plate and side guards to protect the engine.
And finally in number 1. The Royal Enfield Continental GT 650, converted into a classic cafe racer, which without question is the best bike in that category for the money. Let's check it out.
Let's get started with the first modification. We will remove the original rear fender, rear turn signals, the license plate holder and the tail light. We also remove the front turn signals and the original mirrors. In the next step, we are shortening the rear frame and replace it with a cafe racer seat frame hoop loop with an integrated LED brake turn tail light. This step requires some metal cutting and welding to fit the new short tail section. On the front fork, we remove the side fork reflectors on both sides. The original tires are replaced with Firestone Deluxe Champion Cycle Classic motorcycle tires, which also provide a bigger profile. In the next step, we modify and shorten the front fender to fit it better to the new tires. Time to make some color modifications. For a more vintage look, we will black powder coat the headlight ring and bracket, the brake and clutch lever, the foot brake and gear lever, the air intake and throttle body, the engine valve cover, the footrest, and the top of the rear spring. To give the bike an even more vintage look, we replace the bike's original clutch and alternator covers with matte black ripped covers on both sides. Next, we will update the design on the original side cover. We also replace the handlebar grips with vintage Braun once and add integrated front turn signals and new lower clip-on mirrors. The front white headlight glass gets replaced with a yellow one, and we also install black fork mudguards. Now we modify the original seat cushion and remove some padding to make the seating position lower, and we switch the black color to Braun to match the handlebar grips. The front of the exhaust system gets wrapped with black Thermo-Tech exhaust wrap tape. Finally, we replace the original chrome muffler with a dark gray XL iron head black muffler from K-Speed. As an alternative to the original white base color, we switch the color on the seat and tank to a blank metal theme color with a new metal Royal Enfield tank badge. Some states require a rear fender to be street legal, so we add a short rear fender matching the already modified front one. For people who don't feel comfortable shortening the original rear frame, here is an alternative using a longer single-seat vintage racing seat from Cafe Racer Webshop, which fits the Continental GT and includes an integrated taillight.
Those are the top 4 design videos and step-by-step builds for converting Royal Enfield motorcycles into different styles of cafe racers so far. Don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching.